Hello, everybody. This is Minion Soldier, and in more ways than one, this is going to be a look at the 312 Postmortem, which apparently I just have to look at, and I have to, quote unquote, react to. Apparently, this is what I'm supposed to do. This was eagerly requested that I do this, so okay. Sure. Now, before we get started, if we're talking about postmortems, I had a really brilliant idea last night, and I'm saying that facetiously. I decided to try out a hot sauce that is 118,000 on the Scoville scale. So if you think about, like, if you've ever seen the show Hot Ones, the bomb, which is 136,000 on the Scoville scale, that's about where I fell last night. Normally I'm much below that, but I decided to put that on one taco last night, and yeah, so I was gonna kind of take it easy today and maybe put out a bit of a late episode on Tuesday, but then this came in and I was told about it, and I was told that I had to read it and I had to do it live. So I guess somewhat similar to when we kind of read the Q&As for ships, we are going to be looking at the Postmortem. I have not seen this. I have not read it. And to be perfectly honest, until about an hour ago, I didn't even know it was up. So with that, let's begin. Alpha 312 Postmortem. On December 17, 2020, we launched Alpha 312, Assault on Stanton, which included a number of new features and changes, including refinery decks, blah, 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 improvements, gas clouds, yep. The following is a postmortem of the senior developers themselves, detailing what was delivered and their thoughts on how it went. As a side note, this postmortem specifically focuses on the Alpha 312 patch. We will release a separate postmortem comlink focusing on the Xenothreat dynamic event separately. Actually, I kind of look forward to that. I'd like to know what they think of it. All right, vehicle team here. Okay, wait, how long is this? I mean, seriously? Like, I'm not going to be posting something that's like Lawrence of Arabia in length. Okay, that's not typically the videos that I do. I mean, now I'm starting to resent this video idea heavily. What went well? The vehicle. Yeah, well, okay. All right, moving on. Vehicle entry identification was a much requested quality of life feature upon the ASOP hangar spawn modifications that allow players to quickly identify the points of entrance into a ship. That has actually gotten better. I've noticed walking up to my Retaliator, like, you start to see like the actual marks of how you get into and out of a ship. For those of us that have been flying the same ships for years, that's not really that much of a problem, but a new person walking up to a ship, I mean, imagine like a new player who bought a Hammerhead. I know. I know, but someone who did that and then walked up and was like, how do I get into this thing? But I mean, those situations do occur. So that's, these markers update depending on whether the ship is landed in or in 0G, removing a common complaint new players had of being unable to figure out how to get into their ship. Occasionally, these displays widely offset from. At the end of the day, each valuable time that could be used to fix other bugs or make new things. True and true. Also, some things that were intended to keep secret until a bit closer to the time of the event leaked. This was hardly a major issue, but it's always nice to be able to surprise the fans from time to time. Oh, don't worry, you surprise us a lot along the way. You don't need to be quite so coy with everything, You can just let us look at things before you intend to release them, and maybe with that player feedback, you might spot a few critical errors on things like new ships before you actually sell them. They needed while our attention was elsewhere. What we'll do differently in the future. We're always looking at ways. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Don't care. I figure if I dig into that more, I'll know exactly what they're talking about, but no. Right, design team, AI intercepting torpedoes. Turrets on the edges, intercepting torpedoes works well, and it creates some very cool moments when they successfully intercept. Yeah, I showed that in a video not too long ago. What didn't go so well, AI accuracy is not good enough to reliably shoot down incoming torpedoes depending on server frame rate. Oh no, server performance isn't what it should be? Shocking. What we'll do differently in the future. We will look into AI accuracy so we have greater control over how many torpedoes slip through turret defenses. So server frame rates is having a negative impact on game performance. I know, it's a groundbreaking headline there. But I would be very, very cautious in what they're looking at, because if you kind of design the AI to be able to intercept torpedoes despite the server frame rate issues, you may find yourself in the future, when you do fix those server frame rate issues, no pressure, where nobody's, pressuring you to do that, you might find yourself in a situation where the AIs are overly accurate or overly capable of shooting down incoming torpedoes. So I would say leave it the way it is, get the server performance where it should be, and then adjust the AI's capability to shoot down torpedoes. Yeah, you know what? They're a little bit inept at it now, but better that than turning around at one point and just saying, well, torpedoes are now dead, and then saying, oh, well, we'll fix it, because, sometimes we wait a very long time for fixes. AI fire mode usage and targeting priorities. What went well? The AI using burst fire generally improves the look of AI turret fire. Disagree. Blah, blah, blah. So we've done that. AI accuracy convergence. The AI, what didn't go so well? The AI is not accurate enough to pose a decent level threat to the player at the minute. I would say that is probably more reflective of server frame rates and just bad server performance. Like, how do you know how accurate the AI is when the AI is on a server that runs like crap, right? It'd be like if I was playing an FPS and I was getting 4 frames a second. How accurate am I going to be with my gun, right? So how do you know that the accuracy is good or bad when the server runs like crap? Capital ship combat behavior. What went well? The capital ships now put a good amount of consideration into distance and relative position when engaging other ships. Capital ships without frontal guns will attempt to get in close enough to utilize all of their turrets. Yes, that's fine. While those with large frontal guns will attempt to keep out of the enemy's range and utilize their powerful long-range weapons, as it should be. What didn't go so well? The tactic selection doesn't consider the AI ship's strength relative to the target enough. For example, when the Idris is fighting a gunship or capital ship, it will attempt to stay at a distance and use its railgun. This often makes sense, but can lead to it running away from smaller gunships that it could easily take on at in a close range slap fight. Like having an Idris plodding around at like 78 or 80 meters a second in space, when it can go faster, in fact much faster, is making it far too easy to hit. But I mean, this is a natural problem of 6 degrees of freedom, And I can see why you maybe don't want to showcase that, but once, once the ship gets into players' hands, there's going to be no one moving around at just like basic SCM speed. Like, they are going to learn very, very quickly to get that speed up and keep it up, because that is their main defense against these guys here, is to get that speed moving, to put yourself in a position on the battlefield where the enemy has to confront you. But you've got the speed so that you're going to make it as difficult as possible for these little guys to do that. Also, another thing about speed is that if someone's firing torpedoes at you and those torpedoes are forced to chase you because you're moving at a fairly good clip, that gives your turret gunners more time to shoot those torpedoes down. Something to think about. So while this is, it's a good step in learning the lesson, that really isn't the lesson you should be learning. I mean, it's an interesting thing to take away, but it's not the main lesson you should be picking up. Elevator panels. Station-based refining. What went well? We finished the initial gameplay loop for refining. Yeah, it's good. Complete with refineries having their own material specializations, workloads. Yeah. Okay, great. Fantastic. What didn't go so well? Our planning for every step was extremely thorough. However, due to several situations out of our control, we were unable to reach a point early enough where we could balance the refinery loop the way we intended to. So we brought forward another already intended set of changes in the form of the initial mining rebalance to compensate as best we could until we can get the refinery balance that we originally wanted. This mining rebalance had the added bonus that it made the MISC Prospector a bit more appealing for people to start out with or rent, as well as providing more gameplay experiences for the Argo Mole or multiple players with prospectors. So I guess what they're talking about here is that, if you don't know, the prospector basically outperforms the mole. It was the middle ground. It's why the Orion never got delivered. It's like, oh, we can do the mole instead and we can sell that. But the mole ultimately was a stupid idea, because it's basically just a slower, more convoluted prospector that really just doesn't do anything so remarkably that you would actually want it, So this really isn't a problem with refineries and, we need to go in and we need to fiddle with the dials. This is the problem. Like, the problem with this is that the mole was a stupid ship. So this is your new mining UI. Like, here's the bad place, here's the no good place, here's the good place. What didn't go so well? Initial pass of the mining UI refactor was trickier to implement than it was to build, with different vehicles having different spaces available to them for UI, meaning that a lot of behind-the-scenes tweaking was required to actually display the UI in a comfortable way. I think we've talked about this stuff in the past. This is still being fine-tuned, and with future tech coming soon, we hope to broadcast the UI in a slightly more visually appealing way that works better than the current implementation. Okay, so this, believe it or not, this is like such an easy fix. All the cockpits of all your ships vary in many, many different ways. So creating a unique UI and unique MFDs for each one and making them all work, that's a lot of work to have to deal with. Or, you see this blurry thing right here? This is a pilot's helmet. Alright? This is a pilot's helmet. Every pilot that flies a spaceship wears a helmet, and they all have the same viewable area. We've long since moved away from the idea that they'll, remember when the helmets used to infringe on the borders of our vision, and then a number of us like went out and complained about this and said this is stupid, it's dumb, and they changed it and they got rid of it. So all of these have a universal field of view. You can have them from different manufacturers. You can have the color you want, the style you want, everything that you want. But from the inside looking out, it's universal. So you can go through every ship and build a UI for every different possible function of that ship that has to be adapted to, the different interiors of every ship. And you can go and do all that legwork and then tell us how hard it is. Or you can build a universal UI that functions within the helmet. All right. Core game. And we're only halfway through this. Oh my God. Core game multi-tool tractor beam. Excellent. Excellent. Fantastic. Yes. Long overdue. Let's expand on this. All right. What didn't go so well? When planning any feature, you want to identify the core experience and then outline any secondary mechanics that would enhance that experience. For example, a jump mechanic by itself is a standalone feature, but you may decide that in air control, a secondary mechanic enhances that core experience. So I guess being able to move your character around or maybe change direction of a jump after you've jumped, which I don't think would be all that realistic unless you were wearing a spacesuit that had control jets and you were jumping in low G or 0G. Pardon me for taking another sip of water. With the tractor beam, we sat down and identified the core experience for being able to manipulate objects and use it as a grapple hook in EVA. Fine. And I feel we delivered on this. You did. Excellent. 10 of 10. It works. It's fantastic. But there were some secondary mechanics that I would have liked to ship that we ran out of time to deliver, specifically allowing the manipulation of your trajectory using suit thrusters when using the grapple hook 0G or functionality in 0G. That's fine, but it's not really critical, and it's not really all that important. That is kind of like a post-release feature. Because, it sounds cool, but do you really need it? Is it critical? Is it life-changing? Is it going to, reinvent the wheel and change the whole experience? No, it isn't. Well, what we needed was an object that would allow us, this tool here, allow us to pick up these things far more efficiently and far more quickly than walking out and then using the interface menu to, yes, do I want to grab the package? I do want to grab the package. Thank you. Okay, fly it down. Do I want to place the package down, or do I want to just drop the package down? What you did with this is you shortcutted so much needless granular interaction. You got rid of so much, do I want to hold the package upright? Do I want to hold it sideways? This is much more, I'm immersed. I get to decide. This thing, this shortcutted all of that. It got rid of all that needless stupidity and just allowed us to pick things up and put them where we want them without having to, navigate a stupid menu. Delivered, 10 out of 10, 100%. You can stop now and you can move on to the next size of tractor beam. Ship size, to allow us to pick up 5 or 10 of these things all at once and just scoop them all up into our ship and put them in the cargo bay. That should be the next step. This shouldn't even be on the table. This is not a consideration that we need. All right. Unfortunately, the two systems don't work really well together. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All this here, whatever you're going to say here, don't worry about it. Never come back to this again. You can put this on a shelf and you put it in an envelope. This idea that you have here of what you want to do, put this in an envelope, date it, do not open before 2024, December 2024. That's when you come back to this idea. Now, here's the problem. Most of the weapons in Star Citizen, the FPS weapons in particular, not because of how they're designed artistically, not because of, like, it's got the wrong kind of sight, or it's, it doesn't have the right look or the right feel for the universe. Or most of these rifles perform like crap because the servers perform like crap. This kind of fine-tuning is a good idea, is a fantastic idea at the point where you actually have your servers performing well. But at a stage in the game's development where you can empty 3 or 4 magazines of ammunition into an NPC and they just kind of jitter while they're being hit, but they don't actually register that they've been killed for maybe up to a minute, I think that this is a great idea. This is a fantastic idea. And ultimately in Star Citizen, do I want to see weapon zeroing and seeing it all work? Yes, absolutely. 100%. Is now the time for this? Not really. Because the game just doesn't support this level of accuracy. In an ideal environment, maybe in an internal environment where the game performs very, very well on your own private CIG servers, this might be fantastic, and this might be like, oh, this is a great idea. But in the persistent universe, this benefits nobody right now because the game runs too shittily for this to be reliable. Okay, so if you're talking about sniper rifles, and you're talking about why this sniper rifle is vastly superior to all the other sniper rifles that you've put in the game, it's not what you think it is. The reason why this is a vastly superior sniper rifle to all the other sniper rifles in Star Citizen is because all the other sniper rifles that you've put in the game so far are just, they're crap. Like the double fire sniper rifle, the energy sniper rifle, the charge fire sniper rifle. This is all like Call of Duty Future War BS guns. All we need is an accurate bolt action or semi-automatic, in this case, sniper rifle. That's all we need, is a simple ballistic sniper rifle. When you're talking about, oh, we didn't get a chance to rebalance all these guns and change all these guns, you shouldn't be rebalancing or changing a whole litany of weapons. What do we need for a sniper rifle? A simple basic bolt action sniper rifle. What do we need for an assault rifle? We just need an assault rifle. Submachine gun? We just need one. Pistol? We just need one. Like, when you make these changes, you create so much work for yourself, having to rebalance or look at, and all these additional weapons that you have to iterate upon. You don't need to do all that work, especially now when that effort could be better spent someplace else. Like, you're just making more work for yourself and you're making the project take longer. To see specific NPC loadouts, well, I guess like varying types of clothing and different types of equipment on their characters. Yeah, that's fine. That's fantastic. Once again, don't lose sight of the fact that you wanted to do refineries, you delivered refineries. And to be perfectly honest, the NPCs that are floating around in most space stations and all that are, they're just not in a place where you can where you can't distinguish them from players. They're just like AI robots just mindlessly walking around in front of you and beside you and all that. So don't worry about that. The core thing that you want to worry about is, did you deliver refineries? Were they usable? Did they work? Yes, yes, yes. Good. Move on. Worrying about, I want to have NPCs with different types of tool belts. Who cares? We're not there yet. Not so much. I think the atmosphere kind of gives the planet its kind of personality, and I think adding storms and stuff like that is going to be much more valuable in the future. But Yeah, I'm going to call this video here because this feels like it's been going on a little bit too long, and like I am desperately suffering here, having talked for so long. Anyways, yeah, so I have fulfilled a request. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do. And thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.